So strictly speaking, I don't have a lot to do. But Mrs. M is like Poirot, and she, if Mrs. M can't find me a job to do, nobody can. So let's take a walk down to the other house, and I'll show you what Mrs. M wants me to do. She won't buy me a PlayStation. I'd love a PlayStation. I could just play games all day, but she won't let me. She did once. And we've been together for about 27, 28 years now. And one time I came off my bike, this was quite a while ago now. I came off my bike and broke my back. And Mrs. M bought me a games machine. She bought me a PlayStation. It was great. I'd broken legs and everything, and I couldn't move, couldn't do much around the house. Crutches only get you so far. And every time I sneezed, when you've got a broken sternum, when you sneeze it makes you pee. So all I could do was just sit down and do nothing. So she bought me a games machine, but I can't use that excuse now. What do you mean? So here we go. There's a little job. Oh look, we've had a delivery. The camera equipment. Welcome to the gym. So this room, strictly speaking, it's part of the workshop in the coach house. Through this door is a studio. Through this door is the workshop or garage. Okay. And so this is the middle room between the two, which was part of my workshop when I was making kitchens. But then when I retired, yeah, when I retired, I turned it into a gym, as you can see. But it was never finished. I kind of left it. The previous people that had a go made a terrible job of doing the drywalling, as you can see. So they didn't have it actually finish the job. You can see all the joins there. I mean, look at that. That's terrible. And for some reason, I mean, they've pre-filled those sections, which is okay, but that's terrible there. I don't know what they've got done going up there. You can see all the internal joints have never been done. They've never been attended to. And for some reason, they've used mesh tape. Here's an interesting thing. So, you can see up there as well that internal angle's not been done properly. But okay, so this door is the back entrance to the upstairs apartment. Okay, so you can see around the corner upstairs. This is the upstairs apartment. Now, when you walk in through this door, where would you expect the light switch to be for those steps? Here perhaps? Or you open the door and it might be around the corner there? Or it might be around the corner here? any number of, you know, places where it might best be the light switch for those stairs. Okay. It's there. It's there. Look at, it's there. That's the light. That is the light switch for those steps. What can you do? Anyway, so that's it. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to be doing over. That's what we're doing this week, in theory. You can see it's. They're all the same. The ceilings are bad. None of the joints have been taped. You can see all up there. Need doing. Huge big gap at the top there and some cobwebs that need taking down. So yeah, this room I'm going to be attending to. I mean, for the uninitiated, I think I've mentioned the fact that mudding, I hate mudding. Mudding is not my favourite thing. But Mrs. M has instructed me to I think I think the words she used was get off your arse. Did she say that? Did she use those words? She might have done. Oof, who knows? Right. Well, let's get on with it. These are great. There's sand, you know, sanding, because there's a lot of crap on this wall. So the first thing, get a hammer, pull out the nails, give it a sand. So step 2, I always use, it's kind of called, I think it's called hot mud in this part of the world. And what it does, it's like a 20-minute dry. And I use it, I mix some in a pan and I use it to fill the butt joints. I wouldn't let this dry. Wash it out, because it dries, well, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it feels to me as though it always dries a bit harder. And once you get this in your pan and it dries off, it's a swine to get out. I've mentioned in previous videos that we had a big house called Banquet House, and it was where the huge rock festival took place. The crumbling, this is back in the 1970s. A big rock festival took place. It was in the grounds of the house that we owned. It was in the fields in front of the house. It was a washout. It lost the organisers thousands and thousands because it rained incessantly and people were it was just a mud bath. And it had people like Elton John and The Who and Pink Floyd, some really big, Creedence Clearwater Revival, I seem to think. Quite some big names anyway. Anyway, so that house, right, when we bought it, it was called Banquet House. Now the name wasn't actually Banquet House originally. It was a pub. And it was called the Bankhead Arms. And when it stopped being a pub, years and years and years before we bought it, the name got it just in translation, and it became Banquet House, right? And I remember I renovated the kitchen, and I took all the old kitchen out, and what the part of the wall, this is the drywall that got me thinking, part of the wall underneath all these cabinets and these tiles and etc., it looked new. The drywalling looked new. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder. And you knock on it, and it was hollow. And I thought that was really weird. So I got down to floor level. I made a little hole. I didn't want to take the whole thing off because I'd have had to redo it. But I made a little hole big enough to put a broom handle right in the bottom. And I put the broom handle in, expecting to feel a wall or something or a blockage. But it didn't. The whole broom went in through this little hole in the bottom of the floor. The whole broom handle went in. I thought, wait, hello. So I made the hole a little bigger, and I shone a torch in and peered in, and it was difficult to see anything. But my stepdad at the time, my mother's Fred, it was in the days of video cameras. Things weren't quite as sophisticated as they are now. And he had one of those little, the little video cameras, Samsung or Sony or something like that. I don't know what it was. Well, it was about that big, this video camera. And I taped it. He let me do it. I taped it he was as interested as I was. I taped it to the end of this broom handle and pressed the button on the recorder and stuck a torch in the hole and pushed this video camera in and twisted it to look around and then pulled it out again. Well, the whole, it captured images of this barreled ceiling. There was a staircase, and this staircase went down from the kitchen, which we were in, down into a basement, and they'd covered it all up, the people who owned the house. And you think to yourself, how is that? How could you not have known? Well, the house was kind of like on different levels, and it was like a weird, it's like, oh, well, all right, okay. So this basement ventured in underneath 2 different rooms of this big house. And it was a beautiful vaulted ceiling and these steps down. Well, we got that wall off in a hurry. And there was a part of me thinking, wouldn't it be nice if they buried, I'm not that lucky, buried treasure? Not really, no. But, so we took all this wall out, and there was a big, just a huge, big vaulted cellar. And it was where, apparently we since learned, we did some investigating, previous owners, and we had actually an old lady knocked on the door some months after we'd finished the house, wanting to look round, and she lived there as a child, and she remembered this basement. And it was, they used to do, during the war, they used to do black market meat. I don't know where they got the meat from, but yeah, they used to make cut black market meat, because in the centre of this big basement was a stone slab. It was bloody heavy. We couldn't leave it in, because we couldn't use this space really. We had designs on the space. So I had to take it out, and it was really, really heavy, but we got it out. Eventually we sandblasted the whole cellar, and it had a well in it. And unfortunately in winter and when it rained, the well overflowed and it flowed onto the floor. So I ended up making a channel all the way around the walls, dug a channel, put a grate on it, so that the water, if it did come out into it just went into the channel. So the floor itself kept dry. The water just flowed over the well into this channel and then back out again. I never needed a sump pump because it never filled up that much. And I got lights, so I installed lights in there. And we had a wrought iron gate made, so that in the kitchen, off the kitchen was this, when I'd finished, it was this beautiful wrought iron gate and these steps down, vaulted cellar, all sandblasted, all these beautiful lights. It looked, it looked pretty cool, actually. Didn't use it for much. I mean, it was just a feature. I think she kept some wine down there. A little bit of wine, not a lot. Wine doesn't last long in our house. It's probably one of the reasons why we want to move to France. I know we saw the advert when we came to Canada. It said, "Drink Canada dry." She's been trying. I'm going to get a slap for that. When she watches this video, I'll get slapped. Be under no illusion. So there you go, a little tale. Anyway, back to it. Okay, step two. Step two. I'm not going to give you a tutorial on this, but I'll just go. We'll just run through it because I'm no expert, but I do it, and you just do the best you can. So the mud and tape. It's for mud. It's called mud in Canada. I'd be interested to know what it's called in France. Right, that's enough of that. You get the general idea. You just mud it, let it dry, mud it, let it dry. It's boring me to tears doing it. I can only imagine what it must feel like. Be a cure for insomnia watching a video on it. Anyway, so look, I'm going to leave. I'll show you when it's finished. I'll show you a vid when it's at a later date, when it's done and dusted. But working in here got me thinking, and we used to have, when we first came to Canada, not long after coming to Canada, Mrs. M's nephew joined from the UK. He wanted to become Canadian. He wanted to start a new life here, and we thought, yeah, that's all right. We can accommodate that. So I renovated this studio next door, and it used to be when we came, it was a model. It was the Sunshine Coast Model Railway Association had this is where they had their members kind of place, and it was the whole downstairs was a big model railway. It was amazing. I felt really bad because they had to dismantle it so we could take possession of the property. But anyway, so he stayed there. And he stayed there for quite a while until he got his permanent residency, and then he set off and created a new life for himself. But this place was empty. And I used to go to the gym quite a lot. And I used to come across this guy, an Irishman, who was trying to navigate his way around the Sunshine Coast. He wanted to be a firefighter. And when he realised that I was a cabinet maker, he sent me a message one day, could you give me some advice? I said, yeah, I'll give you some advice. What do you need? So he said, can you come down and take a look? So I went down to where he was staying, and he had this caravan, and it was a bowler caravan. Now, but if you know bowler caravans, they're really small. They're like a car width, And then there's, you know, they're not, it's like 6 foot long or something, really small thing. And he wanted some advice on putting some cabinets, making some cabinets for it. I said, yeah. So I told him, I said, so what are you intending to do with this? He said, I'm going to live in it. I went, oh, right, okay, well, fair enough. Keep costs down and all the rest of it. So I said, so where you living now? He said, in my car. Well, okay. I said, oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that idea. There's no reason. People living in the cars. I mean, I liked him. He was an Irishman. He was funny. And I thought, you know what? I've got a studio here. You're welcome to use it. So you stay here. And in return, because he didn't have a lot of money, he was getting all his certificates and all his training to be a firefighter. And I said, look, all I ask is do 1 day a week. Work for me 1 day a week around the place, building fences and clearing out brambles and all that kind of stuff, and which he gladly did. Anyway, so he was with us for about 18 months, 2 years, and he's now a proper firefighter, and I'd like to think that somehow I had a hand in that. Anyway, this one particular Sunday, right? So this Sunday, I was working in the garage this side. He was in this side, and I didn't know he had his girlfriend. So I'd been selling some motorcycle stuff, and a guy turned up to look at some motorcycle gear. Well, I was talking to this guy in the garage that way. What they were doing, it didn't leave much to the imagination that way. And I mean, to say she was rather vocal, she was obviously having a good time. And she was making such a lot of noise. It was like, there was a part of me thinking, he must be good. So she was moaning and I was trying to sell something to this guy. I can't have this. He was like, this guy was buying some motorcycle gear, and he was like looking at me as going, what the hell? What's this place he's turned up at? Well, the only thing I could do was turn the radio on, and you will not believe the piece of music that came on immediately. I switched the radio on. It was the Starland Vocal Band, and the track was Afternoon Delight. I mean, if you don't know that song, why it was so relevant to the moment, it's like I couldn't have made that up. He looked at me, this guy who was by. I looked at him. We both of us started laughing. It was the funniest thing ever. I did explain to him that, you know, it's a friend, and he's an awful lot younger than I am. Sunday afternoon delight. There you go. Anyway, so that's it. I'm done now. I'm going. I'll at some point in a forthcoming video, I'll drop in a picture of what I'm doing over here. It's long and it's tedious, and I'm hoping that this house gets sold before I finish it, because then I won't have to finish it. But in the meantime, we'll see you. If it's just the first time you come across, please, it'd help if you just drop a subscribe button. Builds the whatevers. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. See you next time.